100-Year Jukebox presents The Ladies Who Put Words to American Operettas by Katie Bloomer. Beginning in 1919, Broadway suddenly blossomed into American operetta with glorious music, tuneful romance, and exciting adventures in exotic settings. For about a decade, audiences were spellbound by the songs of Victor Herbert, Jerome Kern, Sigmund Romberg, Rudolf Frimmel, and others. Who wrote the lyrics? Mind you, these same people often wrote the libretti and even directed or produced some of the finest American operettas ever written, ones like Blossom Time, The Student Prince, and Naughty Marietta. Would it surprise you to learn these multi-talented collaborators were all women?
Really? Wow!
Today, 100-Year Jukebox salutes Dorothy Donnelly, Rida Johnson Young, and Anne Caldwell, the ladies who gave us the words to favorite melodies of Victor Herbert, Sigmund Romberg, and Jerome Kern. Please join us as we examine the lives and work so affecting it has lodged deep in music lovers' hearts for over 100 years. We're your hosts, Katie and Ellyn.
Hiya!
You know, Ellyn, when I first started researching this show, I thought this was gonna be drudgery, boring, silly, and a bunch of people yelling ridiculous endearments at each other.
I know. American operetta. Bah, humbug.
I could not have been more wrong. Mea culpa. I don't know where to begin.
How about context? What makes an American operetta different from a European one?
Humor. Well, much more than that, of course. But in addition to the prime romantic couple, there was often a secondary couple who handled the jokes and funny songs, while our hero and heroine were wrestling with big problems like class differences or choosing between love and duty, or the heroine loving the seeming bad guy, hating the wimpy good guy, without realizing they're the same guy, like in the Desert Song.
Sort of like Lois Lane of the Desert Sands.
That's another thing. Most American operettas had a strong, cohesive storyline that didn't allow for a lot of random insertions of a big star shtick. Like, say, the way Al Jolson is said to have stopped a Broadway show right there and did a 45-minute nightclub act before getting back to the show.
Wow, I'd be crying, Mammy, with that one.
Me too. But the American musical theater of Rodgers and Hammerstein was still some decades off.
You forgot Showboat, 1927. Wasn't that kind of the ultimate American operetta?
Good point. But Showboat really deserves a spin of its own. Right now, we're looking at 3 women who changed Broadway and whose works are still sung around the world today. First up, Rida Johnson Young, 1869 to 1926. Will you remember? Rida Louise Johnson was born in Baltimore, Maryland in 1869 to a well-off family of overland freight carriers. She was the 5th of 6 children, and from a very early age, she knew she wanted to be a writer. She did not know she would become one of the foremost American playwrights, creating not just comedies, dramas, and musicals, but writing approximately 500 songs.
Wow, that's amazing. How did she have time for all that? Especially since she died at 57?
Planning. Rita, like so many of the American operetta ladies, was extremely smart, talented, hardworking, and dedicated to her craft.
Was she married?
No, divorced. No children, except the canine kind.
Well, there you have it then. Much as I love my children and my spouse, it does require a lot of time and energy.
Rita's energies went into her work. She was also an excellent businesswoman who kept a very careful eye on her royalties and her copyrights. Her biographer says that half of the surviving correspondence between Rita and her producers, the Schuberts, were reminding them of payments due. They weren't crooks per se, just tight-fisted, by the way. Anyway, back to Rita's journey. She completed high school, spent 1 year in a women's college, and then at 18, against her family's wishes, went to New York City, play in hand. Rita was later to say it was dreadful, with over 100 characters, many scene changes, and it ran over 3 hours.
I bet she never made that mistake again.
No, indeed not. Other than the operettas, her plays were noted for their good pace, sparkling wit, and well-drawn characters.
Yeah, all that singing took up a lot of time.
Rita, ever practical, got several jobs, which ultimately led to stints with several stock companies. Her beauty, style, and quick learning abilities stood her in good stead, as next she worked for music publisher Isidore Whitmark. She went from secretary to writing lyrics, estimated by her as several hundred songs. And this, she was later to say, was the turning point of her career.
Deadlines will do that to you.
Her first produced play, Lord Byron, 1900, starred actor-producer James Young. And then...
Aha! That's where the Young comes from. Katie, I looked him up, and he was a real babe.
Yeah, they were married in 1904 to 1910, ran a stock company, sometimes featuring her sketches. Oh, Young was probably not such a babe when Rita divorced him and he married actress Clara Kimball.
Same old Young? My.
And that was it in the romance department. From then on, she concentrated on her career. Rita's first Broadway play was Brown of Harvard, 1906. Though only a modest success, it produced Rita's hit song, When Love is Young. Modest hits and flops followed, including Glorious Betsy, 1908, which did much better in films. And then, in 1909, The Lottery Man.
Oh, yeah. I think I've heard of that one. Guy offers his hand in marriage in a lottery?
That's it. It's been made and remade a lot. After that, there was no stopping Rida Johnson Young. Hit followed hit, and she was considered one of the top playwrights in America. And she even had time to write Mother Machree from Barry of Ballymore, 1921, a song so authentically Irish-sounding that even today people are convinced Mother Machree is an old ballad.
Yeah. Same thing happened to Rodgers and Hammerstein in Edelweiss. Some people claim to have heard it in the original German.
Many of Rita's plays were made into films, but she herself, aside from The Little Boss, 1919, with Bessie Love, preferred to concentrate on her musicals and operettas, such as The Red Petticoat, 1912, Little Old New York, 1920, and The Dream Girl, 1924, and more. For American operetta lovers, though, nothing beats Rita's triumphs in Sometime, 1918, Maytime, 1917, and especially Naughty Marietta, 1910.
Who could ever forget Will You Remember, Maytime, and Sweet Mystery of Life, Naughty Marietta?
It has been over 100 years since these songs were written, and they are still sung today. Rida Johnson Young died of breast cancer in 1926, but her work sings on.
Thank you for all the wonderful work.
Having polished off the first part of Deep in Our Hearts, I turned my attention to the next American operetta librettist, lyricist, playwright, yada yada, Anne Caldwell, 1867-1936. There didn't appear to be any biographies about her. Not a surprise, as American popular music is an old boys' club, after all. But I scoured articles and mentions in books about 20th century music. It finally occurred to me, oh, duh, to check YouTube. And then I found dozens of Anne's songs on YouTube. They were charming and clever and fun, but they weren't operetta songs.
What do you mean?
Well, because there were so few women writers allowed to participate in Broadway shows, essayists tended to group the three most successful ones together. But, in my opinion, Anne Caldwell, excellent song and book writer that she was a then contemporary writer, able to write many Princess Theater shows with Jerome Kern, and to write the popular standard, I Know That You Know, with Vincent Youmans, and then be signed to a Hollywood contract, including working again with, Vincent Youmans on Flying Down to Rio. But operetta, no.
But, Katie, didn't you tell me Anne wrote the lyrics for Babes in Toyland?
I was wrong. It was Glenn McDonough. Anne wrote the book and some of the lyrics, along with her husband, James O'Day, for Victor Herbert in The Lady of the Slipper, 1912.
There, you see? That's got to be an operetta with a Cinderella theme, right?
Only if the poor girl had inhaled too many ashes. The Ohio Light Opera did a revival in 2017, and as far as I can tell, Slipper is what 1912 America would have called an extravaganza, and the UK would call panto, a family slam-bag farce with everything they can think of thrown in, all kinds of songs, jokes, and yet a kind of fairy tale glamour. Slipper was a great hit of the time, running 232 performances, and apparently did well on the road. Oh, I was surprised at how many 1912 Slipper recordings survived and made their way onto YouTube.
I'll be sure to include some in Anne's lunchbox.
Great. Now, there are a few other candidates for girl librettist. For example, there's...
Katie, don't you think we should mention a few facts about Anne first?
Oh, you're right. I've talked so much, I hope we've got the bandwidth. Okay, now, Anne Caldwell was born 30 August 1867 in Boston, Massachusetts. By age 14, she was in a juvenile opera company and planned to storm Broadway. But everything had to wait when she broke her leg, and then married William Vinell and had a daughter, Molly. The marriage was cut short when her husband was killed in a horrific accident.
What happened?
He was killed when a gas explosion destroyed a Boston subway station.
Oh, no, how terrible.
But Anne carried on. No matter what, Our Ladies of the Libretti persevered. Personal tragedies, world problems, poor health, family concerns. These women were absolutely reliable, able to write wonderful stuff, handle many projects at once, and able to work with many men, although talented, could be real divas. Our Ladies, a grand total of about 5, set a wonderful example of how to successfully collaborate.
I'm proud of them.
Me too.
Just think, and this is before women's suffrage and long before anything approaching Social Security.
Anne married a lyricist, James O'Day, and they often collaborated until his death in 1904.
But her career flourished?
Yes, indeed. She was known as a great play doctor, able to write scenes or fill in lyrics on the spot. She wrote almost a dozen shows with Jerome Kern, including She's a Good Fellow, The Night Boat, and Sally. She was a charter member, and as far as I could tell, the only woman at the new ASCAP organization.
That's some life's work.
But wait, there's more. In 1929, when she was 62, she was signed by RKO to be a script doctor and lyricist. And by 1930, she wrote the lyrics for Dixiana, known for being the first movie being 1/3 in Technicolor and 100% terrible. and the book for Flying Down to Rio, 1933. In fact, she was adapting Flying Down to Rio for radio in 1936, when after a short illness she died.
I always hate it when the subjects of our spins die. It makes me sad.
Me too. But look at it this way. Anne lived a long life by the standards of the day, died loved by her family. Her children were with her when she died, and I suspect a few grandchildren too. Respected by all, and the first woman from Broadway to write musicals for movies. Can't beat that. But then, I know that you know.
I heard what you did there, mentioning one of Anne's best songs. Oh, and Vincent Youmans' tune.
Thanks for all the great work,
Ms. Caldwell. Katie, we have run out of bandwidth. Thanks, everybody, for listening, and catch you on the flip side.
Oh, and 100-Year Jukebox, look for the next...
Look for Deep in Our Hearts, Part 2.